What's up, Lindas? Today I'm going to be recapping the latest episode of Drag Race Brazil Season 2, News Just In. The Queens walk back into the workroom after Paula's elimination, and Desiree Beck is not too happy about having to face Melina for another week. So it's a new week in the workroom, and the Desiree-Melina Blay rivalry continues. Desiree is asked if she is going to improve her makeup, to which she says she doesn't understand the judge's obsession with clowns. She tells Melina to do another handstand, and Melina's like, "What, so you can just drop me again?" The drama is so good. At that moment, Greg enters the workroom looking extra fine. She says that this week's mini challenge is sponsored by Grindr. The girls will need to create a new Grindr profile and be photographed whilst doing so. Melina Blay is announced as the winner. And Desiree does not look happy. They cut to her face so many times, I was living for it. So for this week's Maxi Challenge, the Queens will be starring in Grag News, a successful news show that will incorporate a morning, afternoon, and evening segment. As the winner of the mini challenge, Melina gets to pick her group plus the segment that she wants to be part of. She picks Mercedes and Belky to be part of her team, and she chooses the afternoon segment. Ruby and Poseidon are put together in a group of two, and they take the evening segment. Which leaves Malogy, Adora, and Desiree Beck in a group together for the morning segment. As the queens prepare, Desiree says if Melina was trying to sabotage her by putting her in that group, she's been unsuccessful, because she gets along very well with Adora and Malogy. And this is really funny in hindsight because it doesn't really work out for Desiree. But Melina says there's no sabotage here, she just put who she thought would work best together. On Elimination Day, Poseidon Drag opens up about a toxic relationship that she was in. She says she was physically abused by her ex, and it took a very long time to recover from the situation. Thank you for sharing, Queen. I think I speak for all of us when I say good riddance. So on the main stage this evening, we have Drag Queen in electric blue. Now, this look is absolutely gorgeous. I love it. I love her makeup. I love these armor pieces. I just love everything about this. We have Dudu Bertolini, Bruna Braga, and extra special guest judge Bielo Pereira. Category is Brazilian Legends, and I gave my top two to Belky. This was so pretty and polished. It's more on the simpler side, but it's very pleasing to the eye. So it's time for Grag News, and first up we have Malogy, Desiree, and Adora in the morning segment, which they call the Morning Breath with Tea, I think. The queens need to interview Bruna Braga. It was very obvious that Malogy was nervous, and at one point Desiree asks Bruna some very confronting questions about receiving hate, which makes the energy dip quite a lot. It was awkward to watch. So the queens are critiqued segment by segment. First up, we have Adora Black. Her runway was absolutely stunning. This is so gorgeous. But the judges felt that she was too locked into her script. She needed to let go more. Next up is Desiree Beck, and they felt that her runway was probably the weakest of the night. I don't mean to be shady, but I think the makeup still needs some work. She's also clocked for her dark, confronting questions. They later go on to say that it's disappointing because Desiree apparently has her own YouTube channel where she interviews guests. So really, she should be a lot more comfortable with this. Malogy is commended for her look. I love this. This was almost my top two of the week. But she was definitely the most reserved in her group. They wanted her to speak from her own experiences as a black woman and empower herself. So it's now time for the afternoon stitched show with Melina, Belky, and Mercedes. They get to interview Dudu Bertolini, and this group flowed so well. It felt effortless and natural. They even got a lot of laughs out of Dudu, especially Belky. So the judges start with Melina Blay. Dudu says that he had a lot of fun with all of them and felt very comfortable in their presence. They really loved Melina's runway as well, especially what it resembled. They wanted Mercedes' runway to be a lot more polished, but they loved her presence in the show and said she was very entertaining to watch. And I have to agree because we are so close here. Like, this runway has a lot of potential, but that middle part is very arts and crafts. Belky was definitely the strongest in her group. She had great timing, comedy, and stage presence. A very good night for Belky. And to close the show, we have the back night with Poseidon Drag and Ruby Knox. They are interviewing Bielo Pereira, and right off the bat, I think that their characterizations were a little bit too much. I think they were a little bit silly. I wasn't laughing as much as I was cringing. And Poseidon's body language was a bit off-putting. She kept frowning a lot and looking down and sort of had her back to Bielo Pereira. I think Ruby was struggling to keep the group afloat. However, the judges were a lot less critical than I am. They were obsessed with Ruby's Jaguar look, which is absolutely stunning. This is so amazing. She hits it out of the park every time. And in the talk show, the pair are praised for their chemistry, but they weren't creative enough in their interview questions. Poseidon is told that her look is very bold and brave, but it does border on costumey. They clock the serious moments in her segue, but she recovered well. Back in Untucked, Adora discusses how she spent a lot of her life repressing herself due to her sexuality, and she says that's why she's more introspective and reserved in the cast. Back on the main stage, Poseidon, Drag, and Ruby Knox are made safe. However, Drag Queen says being safe is not a good thing. And I found this a weird comment to make, only because it's the fourth episode, but also both of them have already won a maxi challenge. Melina's group are the top three, and the win, of course, goes to Belky, very well deserved. The bottom three are, of course, Desiree's group. Adora is saved, which means it's down to Desiree and Malachi Queen to battle it out. They lip sync to Brazil by Gal Costa, and this was incredible. It was a real fight from both of them. The entire time I was watching, I was like, this is double Shantae worthy. And sure enough, the judges decide to keep both of them. Which, yes, this was the right decision. And so, my friends, what did you think of this week's episode? Did you agree with the judging choices? Next week is the Snatch Game, and it looks really tense. In the preview, Dudu Bertolini says it's the worst Snatch Game he's ever seen. Oof. But let me know all of your thoughts, and I'll be back very soon to recap France All Stars.